Good afternoon and welcome to this edition of KTN Newsdesk. My name is Betty Kialo. Well, we start with the fate of Education Cabinet Secretary Jacob Kaimenyi, his fate will be decided this afternoon when the National Assembly votes on a motion to seek to have him dismissed from the cabinet by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Well, the motion sponsored by Matakayos MP Geoffrey Odanga seeks to have Kaimenyi dismissed allegedly for gross misconduct and flouting of the law. Odanga is a former teacher who accuses Kaimenyi of failing to promote the interests of the education sector. He says this is contrary to the constitution because Kaimenyi allegedly failed to consult stakeholders on various key proposals. Well, he says these proposals include the ranking of the national examinations, which was abolished allegedly for demoralizing students from schools that ranked poorly. Professor Kaimenyi faces allegations of flouting the Public Officers Act 2003 by allowing schools and other learning institutions to operate without boards of management, which has resulted in discrimination against special needs schools and a delay in the disbursement of free primary and secondary school funds. Right, scores of brewers and consumers of illicit brews in Kakamega County were arrested in the ongoing raid on brewing dens. Police also impounded more than 70,000 litres of changa. Well, this comes as the clergy in the region laud the operation while licensed distillery owners say it is counterproductive. KTN's Dorcas Wangira now reports.
The brewer dens of Lurambi Kakamega are deceptively quiet on this day. Left unattended, the owners had received a tip-off that police were well on their way. On Monday, a massive crackdown on unlicensed bars was carried out in Bukura after the president's directive. Here, the police seized the busa and changa that had been left behind.
Na so far tumekamata watu wengi sana. Jana nilikuwa Bukura basi zote hakuna yenye iko na license. Wana operate without licenses.
According to Dixon Jiru, the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of security operations in Kakamega, there have been 50 raids on bars and illicit brew dens. At least 263 litres of second-generation alcohol and over 70,000 litres of local brew have been seized. Those arrested have been arraigned and a majority have been released. Earlier this week, bishops from the SCK Church said there is an alcohol crisis in Western Kenya.
Useme huko iko hapa. Kwa hivyo lazima tuambie vijana wetu, tutafute njia ya kuwasaidia vijana wetu, tuwape watu wetu nafasi ya elimu, nafasi ya kupata kazi.
In neighboring Vihiga, a 60-year-old man was arrested. More than 5,000 litres of illicit liquor was seized at Chavagere village. Police officers raided Itovo bush that borders Sabatia and Kolomani constituencies. This is a place that supplies more than 40 litres of changa a day. AP Commandant Elisha Othiambo said they were tipped by the area chief and further said that most illicit alcoholic drinks come from neighboring Kakamega.
Vile mnaona inaendelea Kenya nzima. Mahali pombe inauzwa kiasi hii ama inatumika kwa kiwango hii, hakuna maendeleo. Ningependa kusi wananchi wa Chavogere watafute namna ingine ya kutafuta riziki.
However, mini distillery owner James Luchacha says the operation is counterproductive. His biggest concern is not just the destruction of property belonging to licensed distillers, but the grave impact pouring alcohol has on the environment.
Fish are going to die, crabs are going to die, whatever is that water is going to be affected. So to me, pouring spirit into the ecosystem is an environmental disaster.
Operation dubbed Maliza Changa continues. The administration says they will stop at nothing. Dorcas Wangira, KTN, Kakamega.
Hundreds of youth from Kiambu will be rehabilitated in all level 4 hospitals in the county. Kiambu County Executive Officer for Health, Dr. Jonah Mwangi, said this will help to detoxify them of the high level of alcohol they have accumulated over the years. While speaking in Gatundu, Kiambu, Governor William Kabogo ordered the sacking of hospital staff who have been sending patients to private institutions for X-ray services.
Esther Wanjiku Gardiga, Eunice Watare Murithi, Faith Kanana Magiri, and lastly Florence. Eunice?
We have heard the cry about mental health issues, mostly affecting those who are having withdrawal symptoms after we have banned the illicit brew. Currently, there is a team that is at Rainbow Hotel discussing the strategy. Because the issue is not just pouring the beer, it is detoxifying those who have been affected by the illicit or alcoholism. Your Excellency, today you are increasing the health workforce with an additional 50 nurses.
The Kenyan National Union of Nurses has threatened to go on strike, stating that the demands they presented to the government in May may have not been met. Among the demands, the nurses want security to be provided at the Pumwani Maternity Hospital, while they also want more equipment and more nurses to be employed at the hospital, stating that the hospital is overwhelmed.
The strike by all nurses in Kenya that was set to begin on 1st August is still on course. We issued our strike notice to the government of the Republic of Kenya on 8th May 2015, and up to now the government has not endeavored to address any of the issues we raised in that strike notice. And some of the issues we raised in the strike notice was: 1, a revert of management of salaries and remuneration to the national government, so that we can avert the persistent disruption of services in our public health facilities, owing to the fact that there has been delayed payment of salaries, there has been delayed or non-remittance of statutory deductions.
Residents of Ponda Mali Bondeni area in Nakuru County were this morning treated to some drama when a middle-aged man climbed a live power post demanding to be allowed to talk to the area OCS. Well, residents say they saw the man climbing the power post at around 6:30 this morning. The man reportedly ignored queries from passers-by about his intentions. KPLC officials failed in their quest to get him to climb down the pole. Well, there was no shortage of speculation on the man's move.
Niliamka saa 10:30 nikipika mandazi, ndio nikamuona pale akivuta sigara. Sasa ikifika saa 1:30 akakuja. Nilimwona tu vizuri venye alikuwa akipanda, ndio nikajaribu kupiga mayowe nikimwambia ashuke, akakataa kushuka. Nikaingia kwa ploti, nikaita watu, ndio watu wakajaribu kumpembeleza, akakataa kushuka na akaendelea kupanda. Alikuwa kivuta bangi, venye nimkaribia kwa kivuta bangi.
Ima shida, mimi nikiangalia huyu mtu mimi naona shida yake labda hajatoa roho. Unajua pombe zimefungiwa kila mahali. Sasa watu wangepewa ruhusa wakunywe kabusa, labda akikunywa kabusa mambo yake yanaweza kuwa sawa.
Stakeholders in the tourism sector in Taita Taveta County are mooting for the diversification of tourism products and construction of the Mwatate Taveta Road to open up the industry in the area. County officials are hoping to rip from the rich history of World War I associated with the county in order to market it as a way of attracting international tourists. The county has embarked on strategies to renew and strengthen its relationships with the countries that participated in the war.
Yeah, well, after the 100 years commemoration, I think it's last year. What is happening right now, we are getting a lot of inquiries. And the last inquiry I got was from South Africa. They wanted to come and look at our property.
Yes, but I also think that this region in particular, Taita Taveta, is really it's away from a lot of the main problems, and so I feel safe here. I have a lot of partners here, so I know a lot of people here, and they watch out for us, so they're careful about telling us. I came here last year with my family, and I wouldn't do anything to harm my family, so.
The Isiolo County government has kicked off an operation to flush out thousands of livestock grazing illegally in Sarova, Shaba and Buffalo Springs game reserves. County executive in charge of tourism Suleiman Shunu, Isiolo County Commissioner Wanyama Musiambo and Rangers Operation Commander led hundreds of security officers to flush out more than 5,000 herds of livestock out of the two parks. The Rangers combed the vast area for the better part of the day in 5 Land Cruisers driving the livestock out of the protected zones. Hundreds of herders from the neighboring counties had invaded the protected areas with herds of cattle, goats, camels in search of pasture and water for their animals as drought continues to bite in the region. Mr. Shunu said the presence of herders in the game reserves had caused discomfort and various quarters, forcing the tourists to raise complaints that they visit to watch wild animals and not camels and cows. He said the invasion had reduced the number of tourists visiting the game reserves, hence reduction in the revenue collection from the tourism subsector. Now, non-local residents of Mandera County are pleading for government support, saying they fear for their lives over the insecurity in the area. Well, this comes only one day after 14 people were killed in a suspected Al-Shabaab raid in Mandera. Meanwhile, bereaved relatives are currently identifying the bodies of the victims at Nairobi's Chiromo mortuary. KTN's Ian Wafula is following this story, and he now joins us from our city center studios with an update of yesterday's attack. Ian, over to you.
Just to bring you up to speed on what is currently happening, remember yesterday that 8 of the victims from the Mandera attack were received at the Kenyatta National Hospital, 2 of them in very critical condition. The families of these 8 people are currently there, and of course we shall just be giving you an update on their condition and also what the family has to say in regards to yesterday's attack and whether these people are going to get any compensation. Yesterday we also saw President Uhuru Kenyatta pay a visit to some of these victims. Again, yesterday the 13 bodies of the victims from the Mandera attack were brought into Nairobi. They were then received at the Chiromo mortuary, and currently families of these 13 people are currently just trying to identify their loved ones. Indeed, 14 people died from the attack, but we were meant to understand that the 14th person was a girl from who was Muslim, and therefore by this time she has already been buried. And of course we also saw some of the non-locals camping at the Mandera police station, where they claimed that this was the safest place for them to take refuge, since majority of those who were targeted during yesterday's attack were them, the non-locals. Remember that last year we saw around 36 people who were killed at a quarry at Koromai, which is just about 15 kilometers from Mandera County, and all of them were non-locals, and so they have a reason indeed to feel shaken. And of course yesterday we saw a lot of tension among them, and they were trying to just tell the government to relocate them. Now their leaders, led by Kenny Member of Parliament, that is Kanini Kega, was also at the forefront in terms of urging the government to relocate them. Remember that Kanini Kega's constituency has largely been affected. Last year when those 36 quarry workers were killed, 12 of them were from his constituency. Yesterday when the 14 were killed, 8 of them were from his constituency, and so he says that initially the government had promised to give security to these persons, and that's why some of them opted to stay even after last year's attack. But then again, his question is, what happens to them after yesterday's attack? Are we just going to see the same situation going round and round? And so during the day, later on in the afternoon, rather, we shall have some time to talk to Kieni, Member of Parliament, to just tell us what are some of these plans they have for these people once they relocate from Mandera. Because remember that majority of them had gone into Mandera to seek greener pastures, and most of them were earning a living from being quarry workers and also being employed in the private sector. So are there plans to employ them once they come back home? Those are some of the issues that we shall be asking him, so to just get clarification on the same. So, Betty, we shall just be giving you an update later on in our subsequent bulletins to just bring you up to speed on what has been happening. Back to you, studio.
Well, thank you very much, Ian Wafula, giving us the latest, of course, in regards to what took place yesterday in Mandera County, where 14 people lost their lives. Well, he tells us that MPs drawn from central Kenya have asked the government to evacuate non-locals living in Mandera County because of their safety. We'll get to see how that pans out in our next bulletins, or in our subsequent bulletins, so to speak. Moving on to some other news making headlines and another developing story. Remember, this is Newsdesk, giving you news as it happens, and I want to take you to Parliament buildings, where our Patrick Amimo has been following some of the proceedings at the Senate Finance Committee. Amimo, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Bring us up to speed with who is being grilled today. We know it's 2 county governors. Who are they, and what are they being grilled on?
Thank you so much, Betty. In fact, the governor who just appeared before the Senate Committee for Finance is the Kisumu County Governor, Jack Ranguma, and he is facing several allegations related to corruption and mismanagement of funds of the county. Apart from his allegation that he's been diverting money meant for development to other activities through supplementary budget. The other allegation has to do with it is claimed that he's failed to disburse monies meant for the work of the county assembly to the account, thereby compromising the assembly's capability to effectively oversight the activities of county government. It's also alleged that the county has not been accounting for the money through the years. Has not been making formal reports to the Auditor General and the Control of Budget, and that Commission on Revenue Allocation, especially on that on the funds. And they want the governor to do this with immediate effect, or failure to which then the Commission of Budget should deny funds to the county. But the governor has defended himself, saying that already his authority has been involving the public in public participation when it comes to budget making process. And he also says now he's putting up in place at least a financial management system in his county to ensure that it is. It has the latest with the latest functions to ensure that it is up to speed with the current financial management systems to ensure that all monies collected are captured into the system.
All right, Patrick Amemo, thank you very much for your update. Of course, he will be giving us a specific and, of course, a comprehensive news item, of course, on what is taking place in Parliament, where the Senate Committee on Finance is sitting and grilling 2 county governors. Yesterday, we saw the committee grill CS Waiguru and CS Henry Rotich. We'll get to see how the developments today pan out in our subsequent bulletins. Well, let's move on to some business news. And the newly formed Old Mutual UAP merged companies will be a one-stop shop at all the current branches in the next 100 days. Old Mutual merged its Kenyan insurance business with its newly acquired financial services company UAP. While speaking in Nyeri, Group CEO Peter Mwangi says the key focus for the group is to integrate systems to ensure old and new customers enjoy seamless services. Old Mutual bought a 60.7% stake in UAP earlier this year, and last week unveiled a new executive team. The merged group will now offer banking and insurance services from all its branches countrywide. The tour to central Kenya by the CEO also sought to assure staff of no job losses with the new team.
The immediate focus is for us to integrated financial services model into the other countries. Because as you know, in Kenya, we have a fairly mature model. We have banking, insurance, medical, life, general, and so on. In the region, a lot of the markets have general insurance, So we'll be looking to progressively introduce other lines of business.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm Betty Kialo.